Now I have the pleasure to introduce our keynote speaker. Her name is Christine O'Kelly, and she comes from Dublin City University in Ireland, so you can look forward to a lovely lilt. Christine was appointed by Dublin City University's president as the Age-Friendly University Coordinator in September of 2014. So that's fairly recent. She has an extensive background in working with a range of agencies and networks engaged in enhancing the well-being of older adults. She was the former CEO of Ireland's Older Women's Network, a global network with a focus on gender and aging, and served as a board member of the National Women's Council and Banulact, a national organization working with women in the developing world. Christine was involved in a government working group to draft Ireland's National Positive Aging Strategy. Do we have one of those? And was a member of a team investigating residential nursing homes, which resulted in the establishment of a national watchdog agency on residential care. Do we have one of those? She is a member of the AGE platform in the EU and is DCU's representative on the Dublin and Fingal Age-Friendly Alliances and works on subgroups on housing and transport. Since Christine joined Dublin City University, over 2,000 older people have taken part in the university's programs on campus. Christine was educated herself at the National College of Ireland and at DCU. She's married and lives with her husband, Bob Joyce, a name I love, and their 5 children in Dublin. We've had a chance to meet her a couple of times before today, and her enthusiasm for age-friendly universities is contagious. So we're very happy to welcome Christine to talk to us today.
Well, good morning, everybody, and I'm so delighted to be here. I'd like to thank the organising committee here for inviting me. It's a great privilege to be able to address you about something that I feel so passionately about personally, and I have the great good fortune of being able to earn a living out of it as well. So, as was mentioned, I'm the coordinator of the Age-Friendly Global Network University. So this morning I'm going to speak to you a little bit about the Age-Friendly Initiative. I better click onto the actual slides first. Okay, the first thing I want to say is that we came across this quote about learning, and we said anyone who stops learning is old, whether 20 or 80, and anyone who keeps learning stays young, and the greatest thing you can do is to keep your mind young. And you can see that Mark Twain said that a very long time ago, and it's still as relevant today as it was then. So it's something that inspires us in the Age-Friendly University Network. So, this morning I'm going to say why we developed the Age-Friendly University Network, how we did it, what it looks like in practice, and how our vision has grown from an age-friendly university into a global network of age-friendly universities. But to start with, I'll give you a little bit of an overview on the work of Dublin City University. Now, Dublin City University is a young university, consistently in the top 50 of the world's young universities, and we've over 16,000 registered students. It's very young. It's only became a university in the late 1980s, so we have a small number of students in comparison to some of the Canadian universities. The university boasts a number of research and enterprise hubs that facilitate research partnerships on a global scale and has a major focus on business and enterprise. Its pioneering initiatives have been adopted by other Irish education institutions. For example, we promoted an access programme which we developed that allowed students in disadvantaged communities to come into the university, and there's over 4,000 students coming into DCU through that method. And we also developed the mandatory industrial placement in third year, which requires our students in the third year of their college degree to go out on an industrial placement. So our students have not only excellent academic qualifications, but are job ready and work ready leaving Dublin City University. It's an innovative and dynamic institution, proactive and engaged, looking to see where opportunities lie and how to maximise these, not only to meet the needs of our students and employers, but to transform lives and societies through authentic engagement with stakeholders in the wider community. There's no better example of this than the AgeFriendly University Initiative. So, the initiative, I just say at the outset, when Brian McCraw, our president, became the president a number of years ago, he had 20 initiatives, and one of them was the AgeFriendly University Initiative. So he's really very, very passionate about the whole programme and is very supportive of the whole programme. And he was involved, I first met Brian when we were both involved on a subcommittee. It was a council called the Ageing Well Network that looked at how do we roll out age-friendly opportunities around Ireland. And I think Ireland is probably leading at a European level in age-friendliness around, as an example. We've managed to embed it right across our country at a county council level, so it's at a local government level. And we have older persons councils all around the country that meet regularly and look at are the roads age-friendly, is the parking age-friendly, right under the thematic approach of age-friendly cities that my colleague Jim is going to speak about later. You want me to move the mic up? Okay. So what influenced our age-friendly programme? Well, the demographics. We know that there's a rising number of older people in Ireland. We have only 11%, in comparison to the rest of the world, only 11% of older Irish people are over 65. We have the highest birth rate in Europe and the lowest ageing population in Europe. Only 3% of our adults are over 80. So we have lots of opportunities to look at what everybody else is doing and how can we do it as good as, if not better than, everybody else. So we looked at the economic impact and benefit of ageing and the opportunities that lie ahead and asked how can we contribute to maximise the opportunity and minimise the challenge. Everybody talks about the tsunami of ageing and all this negative stuff about ageing, when in actual fact we say, what about the opportunities in ageing, and isn't it great that we're living so long? We looked at the technological advantages in ageing, and we saw the opportunities to use the expertise of our staff within Dublin City University to engage our students and older people to inform product development and harness technology, for example, telecare and assisted living devices, and to enable people to remain independent for as long as possible in their own homes. We looked at the social opportunities, and our research from 2008, which we carried out with a number of older people, showed that by engaging older people as citizen researchers and experts in their own right to inform research and product development brought unexpected benefits. For example, the relationship that developed between older people and our students, the longevity dividend, and how older people brought a richness to our campus, engaging with students through mentoring and taking part in the many campus opportunities we have on offer. We saw the impact of intergenerational engagement on our students, our future leaders and employers, and how connecting with older people contributed to challenge stereotypes, raise awareness of ageism, and help our students inform their own ageing process. We saw the impact on older people who came to DCU, keen to learn something new, to stay fit and healthy, to remain engaged and challenged, and to inform social and cultural opportunities on offer. We acknowledge the legacy and benefits we now enjoy because of the contribution older people have made to our society and continue to make. We enjoy, for example, better working conditions and free education, all paid for by our previous generations. We saw the power of older people politically. They set an example to unite and are regular voters and politically active. So as I mentioned, the pilot in 2008 ignited this interest, and we were fortunate that our university president, Brian McCraw, was so passionate about the ageing sector and about developing this within Dublin City University. And he has a firm belief that, after all, older people have contributed to the university, so they should have access to the university like everybody else has. So how we began the process in 2010, we began by establishing a working group comprising university staff, community non-profits and older people to inform our work and look to strategy and policy both nationally and globally. And in 2011, we developed the 10 principles of an age-friendly university, which we launched in 2012. And I think you've all got the 10 principles both in the brochure and on a postcard there in your bag. And in 2012, that was the European Year of Active Ageing and Intergenerational Solidarity. So it was a very appropriate year to launch the Age-Friendly Initiative and the principles. Sorry, just down here. So I'm going to show you this slide here because we have a pathway that's very visual and you can see exactly how we did it. So we had our intergenerational learning programme in 2008, which is a small pilot study. Then we had a working group in 2010 to establish the stakeholders. We developed the 10 principles in 2011 with these particular documents in mind, and the National Positive Ageing Strategy was mentioned, so that was one of the documents that informed our policy, the Global WHO Age-Friendly Cities Initiative, and the National Plan for Equity and Access to Higher Education in Ireland. So we didn't just do this on our own out of, we did it with everybody else, as many people as we could, and engaged in quite a lot of consultation and discussion about what it would look like in principle and how it would be in practice. So in 2012 then we launched the Age-Friendly Initiative in the university, and this is our former Prime Minister of ours, Enda Kenny, and he mentioned that DCU was a truly pioneering initiative. And that was really great to have him saying that, and subsequent governments, we've had a new Prime Minister since then, Leo Varadkar, and they're really very, very supportive of Age-Friendly in Ireland. So these principles that I mentioned, what are they? They're sort of like a manifesto of how we come together to look at Age-Friendly University. So we talk about participation, to encourage the participation of older adults in all the core activities of the university, including educational and research programmes. We looked at promoting personal and career development in the second half of life and to support those who wish to pursue second careers at a later life. We recognise the range of education needs of older adults, from those who are early school leavers through to those who wish to pursue master's or PhD qualifications. We want to promote intergenerational learning to facilitate the reciprocal sharing of expertise between learners of all ages. And we want to widen access to online education opportunities for older adults to ensure a diversity of routes to participation in the university. Now we have 10 of these, so we have a few more here to go. So we want to ensure that the university's research agenda is informed by the needs of an ageing society. We want to increase the understanding of students of the longevity dividend and the increasing complexity and richness that ageing brings to our society. We want to enhance access for older adults to the university's range of health and wellness programmes and its arts and cultural activities. We want to engage actively with the university's own retired community. And as I mentioned at the outset, Dublin City University is a young university. We don't have a huge cohort of retired staff. But in the last 2 years, 2 other colleges have incorporated with us. One that's quite a well-established college is a teaching college, and they have a vast number of retired community that they haven't engaged with over the years. So we're pulling all that together at the moment. We've created a common room for them to meet. We've created a book club for them. We've created opportunities for them to meet socially and to take part in all of the opportunities that we have on the DCU campus. And that's been a really win-win situation. We want to ensure regular dialogue with organisations representing the interests of the ageing population. So we touched on the why, and now I'm going to move to the how DCU did it. So in 2014, we moved to implementing the Age-Friendly University. It's all very well to have a set of principles, but how do you actually implement them? How do you actually look at them in practice in the university? So I came into the university in 2014, and my role is a little bit like a marriage broker. So I broker relationships between other universities, between staff within the university and other staff on other university campuses. I liaise with stakeholders in the wider community, both at a national and global level. I coordinate a multidisciplinary team on campus, so this identifies potential collaborators on research and funding, networking and opportunities that we can learn from. And I create opportunities for as many older people to come onto campus as possible. So it could be, at the moment, it's at the Love of Lifelong Learning programme, and we have about 700 people coming in on that programme, which is brilliant. It's psychology, politics, life writing, digital photography, just trying to think, genealogy, lots of different types of programmes that we offer, and people can come in and take part in the Age Week programme, and they have a different lecture every week, and that's right across the university. And the other thing too we've done is we've created a forum within DCU. You know, there's clubs and societies in most universities, and in DCU there's no different. So now we have a lifelong learning society in DCU, and that allows us to do a number of things. We can have workshops, we have social opportunities for people to engage. We obviously have people going to all of the different things that go on in DCU. And on top of that, some of those people have now become DCU ambassadors for the AgeFriendly University. So if you come to visit DCU around AgeFriendly, you'll meet one of our ambassadors and they'll talk to you all about their experience in DCU. So in relation to how it worked on the campus itself, I came in from an advocacy role outside the university. I'm not from the academic community of DCU. I came in from the advocacy role, and I found it very, very difficult to navigate who is to talk to in the university, who has authority, who's the right person to go to, is it the head of the faculty, who is it, So I found it very, very difficult to work this all out. So we streamlined the working group. The working group originally comprised about 28 people, and it was very hard to get all 28 people in the room every month for the same time at a meeting to say, what's happy with AgeFriendly? So we streamlined the working group, and we went out, and this is what I created 6 pillars, and these all overlap across the university, and it makes it much easier to coordinate. So we have research innovation, you can see, teaching and learning, intergenerational learning, these all overlap. And we sit down once a month with the pillar leads from each one of these groups, and we say, right, what's happening in your space? And that's how we have cohesion within the AgeFriendly University network. We also have an expert advisory board. And this is another group I support. And these comprise people working with older people and older people themselves that come into the university. So we have DCU's Lifelong Learning Association. These are all organisations that work in Ireland at a national level. The Irish Senior Citizens Parliament, I want to draw your attention to that one in particular because they're now going to be coming on to be housed within the DCU University complex, which is great, it's going to be housed on campus. And they represent over 36,000 older people around Ireland, which is a large number of people. And this year, what we did was we used our master's students, we asked our master's students to help us out, and they conducted a number of research surveys that informed the Senior Parliament's submission, pre-budget submission to government. Our budget was just in October. So they were very successful in getting a €5 increase on the pension from government this year as a result of that, lobbying government, and the master's students compiled all that information, and it's very useful. And the other thing that's very useful to us in being involved in an expert advisory group is, of course, is that this allows us to know what's coming down the line in terms of, what's relevant in the ageing sector at a grassroots level and what's coming down the line in terms of policy development and what we should be involved in. So it's very, very useful for us to have this group. And it's not so much about doing things for older people, it's doing things with older people. So all of these individual groups I would work with on a direct level. So Fold Ireland is a housing association, so they have one of our students involved in their marketing campaigns. The AgeFriendly Ireland, of course, as mentioned, I'm on the 2 subcommittees on transport and housing. Third Age we do a lot of work with. They're an advocacy organisation and they have 3 parts to it. And one particular part they have is Senior Helpline, which is a befriending service. And they have these fantastic volunteers, older people themselves that volunteer to man the phones 24/7 all the year round. And that expertise is very useful to us in DCU because we have a lot of international students arriving who are very lonely and sometimes need a friend. So they came along and they said, let's do something together. And we have a student support service called AgeFriendly, which is a listening service where older people can man the phones and the students can phone up and say, listen, whatever the issue is, I'm feeling lonely or I need a question about Irish culture, or whatever it is they want to do. It's not a counselling service, it's a listening service. And I think that's been fantastic because it's worked both ways. And some of our students are also now helping Third Age in other aspects of their work. The other thing too that Third Age do is a programme called Fáilte Isteach, which means welcome in. And it's a language programme for non-English speakers coming into Ireland where older people provide this service in the libraries. And again, they do this in the DCU library for our international students because many of the international students, they have a very good reading, can read English very well or can compose English very well, but their languages might be poor. So this is about conversational English within the DCU campus. And it's a terrific programme and there's a great relationship that builds up between the students and the students. So, the benefits to older people. So why would older people come into DCU? Well, it challenged stereotypes on age and ethnicity. You know, Ireland is a small country, and we haven't had a huge number of people coming from different ethnicities over the years. And sometimes an older person may never have met somebody who's wearing a hijab or is from a different part of the world. So it's been great for them because they've been able to sort of challenge that stereotype. And equally around ageism. You know, ageism works both ways. So sometimes you have an older person, oh, I don't know, it's all about sex and drugs and rock and roll with these young people nowadays. And we find that works really well. It's also a platform for older people to engage with DCU and others in a higher educational setting, because lots of older Irish adults wouldn't have had an opportunity to go to university. When I was going to university, you had to pay quite a lot of money. It only became free in the middle of the 1990s. So lots of people didn't get a chance to go. They left school at 14. They had, you know, poor experience of education, and you know the history of the priests and nuns in Ireland. They weren't short about, you know, sparing the rod. So lots of people said, oh, I'm never going back to that educational environment, I hated it. But when they pick up the phone and ring us in DCU, I always think it's the first step that they've made that step to saying, what are the opportunities here? And the cup of tea in the chat is very, very important. It's a method of exchanging information and informal peer support. So somebody can rock up who's on their own, maybe widowed or living alone, and they don't have to have somebody with them. And you can say, oh, what course are you doing? I hear this in the background. What course are you doing? Are you enjoying politics? Oh, I'm doing economics. You should do economics the next time. It's really interesting to hear that sort of engagement. And then new relationships are much harder to forge as we age. So having that mutual interest allows people to chat about the course they're doing. And research, of course, shows that education and engagement promotes longevity. So it's a win-win for everybody. So what are the actual opportunities in Dublin City University that, the opportunities in Dublin City University for people to come onto the campus? So we provided access to existing academic credit-bearing modules from our undergraduate programme, and people can take them on an audit basis or for credit. And it's a way of breaking down barriers for older people to engage with DCU by providing flexible learning opportunities, and we also offer online options to our DCU Connected programme. We have two different health and fitness programmes, our Medics programme and our Active for Life programme. And our Medics programme is one of the largest of its kind in Europe, with over 600 participants per week, coming in a supervised medical exercise plan. So if you present with COPD, diabetes, cancer care, cardiac care, you have a letter from your GP. It's €7 a week. It's very, very reasonable. And people come in and they get a fully screened exercise programme, customised exercise programme for them to take part. And the benefit to us, of course, is the fact that our students from our Health and Human Performance School are able to work with these older people to maintain their fitness levels and bring it up. And there's a huge social opportunity in that. There's always a cup of tea after the end of the exercises and a few biscuits, which in my head is a tiny bit ironic that they're in doing fitness and then they're eating bickies. But we also have an Active for Life programme, and this is an exercise programme designed to help older adults achieve optimal fitness and quality of life. And these classes are designed with a flexible schedule and held in group settings to assist older people to engage with us. We have a Dementia Elevator programme, and this supports carers and those with dementia. And we developed free training, online training that's free to download for those working in the retail, financial services and leisure industry staff on how to deal with somebody who's presenting with dementia. And it's very important because we know that there's lots of times when somebody comes and the staff member is unable to cope with them or not too sure how to do it, so it's free training. We had an advanced transitions programme that we ran as a pilot last year, and this is a programme aimed at those reaching the end of their corporate career. Now this year we're going to be changing, so it's currently being restructured as pathways to retirement. So it's aimed at those reaching the end of their corporate career and is a structured platform for self-development and planning, mentoring opportunities and customised courses to help people navigate retirement. And it's all around, a lot of it deals with loss of identity and, you know, instead of being Mr. Burns, the head of the accounting department, you're just Mr. Burns. So it's all around how do people navigate that? How do they forge new relationships with their spouse that, you know, they haven't been with for all of these years because they've been out of work, or maybe the spouse has, you know, all of this. So it's one of the things that we're currently working on DCU. We'll be launching it again next spring. We have free computer classes delivered by our master's students from our Next Generation Management programme. Now these particular students get a credit for doing the programme towards their award. But what happens is they volunteer for 10 weeks and then they keep coming back. And it's not about the credit at the end of the day, it's about that engagement. And they're absolutely terrific. It's the atmosphere at them, the spirit at them, the sense of chatting that's at them. It's really fantastic. And the programme is run over 2 of our campuses for the 10-week programme. And by the end of 2017, just from this semester starting, we'll have trained over 600 older people in computers. It's part of a government initiative called Getting Citizens Online. And it deals with things like internet shopping, emails, all of that. And then we have, of course, our DCU Ryan Academy, which promotes entrepreneurship and supports funding for a programme called Ingenuity, which is aimed towards people over 50 who may want to start their own business. And it's a fully funded programme for people to come into the university to do that. So this is just benefits to the university. So this informs our students and staff. The reason why we have this in the university at an institutional level informs the students and staff around their own ageing process, because ageing concerns everybody. And an older lady once said to me in Ireland, the business of ageing starts with youth. And I just want to say that sometimes I think the audiences we speak to are the wrong audiences. We need to start speaking more to our youth and saying to them, you must be involved in this. You must be staying active and fit and making the right choices. You won't be able to retire at 65 the way we have been doing in Ireland. You have to work longer, and there'll be a number of iterations of your career by the time you get to that retirement point. So we want to provide opportunities for people to come back in and, look at restructuring their careers as it moves along, but also opportunities for people to have new careers when they retire. We also have a mentoring programme for our staff, within our staff, for our retired staff to come in and mentor some of our younger academic staff. And that goes on between staff and students. And we also have some of our older people mentoring our students, and some of our students mentoring our older people. And that's a very interesting project, because lots of things come out of that. When you have somebody who's had a very senior post and lots of experience for the years who can share that with us, we want to hear from them, We use the expertise of older people in relation to form to challenge stereotypes, and this is as much a challenge within the university as it was externally, because lots of the staff in the university said, I don't know about having an older person in my class initially. If you're lecturing in politics, you're bound to be lecturing to somebody who's lived through that, who might challenge you and say, well, no, that's not really the way I remember it happening. So there was a bit of a learning curve for the lecturers as well, to see how can we accommodate Gen X's, baby boomers and millennials all in the same classroom. And that has worked out really well. And of course, older students engage all the time with the lecturers. So lecturers came back to me who were initially a little bit, I don't know about this, have now say, bring it on. They absolutely love having older people in the class because they have that engagement. Or most of the students are on the tablets during the lecture. They don't engage in the same way. The other thing I should mention, Dublin City University has no expertise in gerontology. We're not claiming we know everything about ageing. But community engagement is our strength, and civic engagement is a strength as well. And we still have a long way to go in terms of the Age-Friendly University Network. But what we have created with those 10 principles is a framework to allow a dialogue for universities to come and talk within that framework and say, OK, you're doing this. Let's see if we can do something similar, or is there an opportunity to do something in a complementary way? Also, it's about the harnessing skills. It informs the research agenda, because we have older people that come to us and they say, I was wondering about doing some work on this. Could you investigate this? And we've had citizen researchers doing these projects. So the one most recently was on older people in the workforce, which looked at what are the stereotypes, what sort of companies in Ireland employ older people. So the big one in Ireland would be the English company Marks and Spencers. They would employ older people. There's a home care, building, they supply building supplies as B&Q. They would supply older people, and also Vodafone and their call centres. They would also employ older people. The other thing too is challenges the system. Older people constantly challenge the system. They come to me and they say, why can't I do that? Why can't I have that? Why, before I came into DCU, it wasn't possible to do a credit-bearing module. You could do it if you were an international student, but you couldn't do it if you were the guy that lived across the road. So, in actual fact, it was all about me going back to the system and saying, you've done this in this way, but why is it that way? So it's not a question of saying, why, it's why not. Why can't we do it? And we've had to change a lot of attitudes towards us in the university, but it has worked out very well, and people are very willing to change. Now, these are just a few photographs of some of the activities we've had in DCU this year. The top one there is a walk that we do every year on the 1st of October to celebrate the UN Day of Older People. It's called Operation Conversation. And it's a play on a programme that we have in Ireland called Operation Transformation, which is about dieting, and they take people who are a few pounds overweight and they do a diet programme. But this is about conversation. So we get all the local schools involved, we get all of our students in DCU, the guys in blue are in the front. The guy with the red waistcoat is one of our DCU ambassadors, he pops up everywhere. And that's our Minister for Older People, our former Minister Kathleen Ryan there, with one of our well-known sports personalities who champions the Age-Friendly University project. And it was a massive big success. October the 1st this year was beautiful, so it was a lovely walk all around. The park is right beside the university. And we had all sorts of things going on around the park. We had giant Jenga, we had a photo booth where people could dress up and take photographs. We encouraged people to bring their grandchildren because it was a Sunday. And we had, everybody got a badge saying, I'm a super chatterbox for Operation Conversation. Then the ones underneath then is just our students helping out with some of the computer classes, and then we have one of our lectures, and then the photographs at the end. We host every single year in DCU, we host a thing called the Taste of DCU, which is a whole day of lectures for people to come in and try out what it's like to be on a university. You know, and actually have a tour of the university campus, take part in MEDEX if they want, sit in on the lectures, ask us questions, go and visit the library, and from that then you see people will sign up for the courses. Now, this is just a short video.
I lead on the Change project, which is DCU's Centre for Healthy Ageing. It's our vision for how we address the challenge of ageing. It involves a number of elements. A key element of that is the outreach to the local community and the education of the local community, but more importantly, the involvement of the local community in our research that addresses the challenge of ageing. The kind of research disciplines that we integrate under the Change umbrella are disciplines like ICT technology platforms, how we might be able to use technology to be able to improve the quality of life of older adults, and our biomedical research in the area of chronic diseases that affect older adults, dementia, diabetes, cardiovascular disease, for example.
So MEDEX is a novel community-based chronic illness rehabilitation program. It offers medically supervised exercise classes and an educational program around, for example, healthy eating, medication adherence, to people with a diverse range of chronic illnesses. MEDEX currently hosts over 600 participant visits per week, making it one of the largest centres of its kind in Europe. And it has gained the confidence of local hospital physicians and from local GPs who refer patients to our programme.
From the beginning, we totally supported the age-friendly university concept, and we think it's very important because a lot of older people may not have had the experience of being on a campus or third level education, or in fact second level education. So the programmes that DCU are running find a lot of favour among our members.
It's an age-friendly campus that has provided me with one-on-one IT tuition, which enables me to do my banking, to plan my holidays, use digital photography, my life writing, genealogy, and as the program expands, it opens up invaluable opportunities for me in my retirement.
So these are organisations that DCU is a member of at a global level. So we're currently members of the Age Platform in Europe, and that's sort of like a senior parliament in Europe, and there's membership from all of the EU states on it. We're a member of the International Federation on Ageing. We're a member of the AFE Innovate project and a founding member of the Covenant on Demographic Change in Europe, and that's an organisation that came together. It's municipalities, stakeholders within Europe that looked at how do we meet the rise in the demographic change. We're members of the Age-Friendly Ireland, and our president is on the national board, and as I mentioned, I'm on the national and regional subcommittees on housing and transport. And we're delighted to be endorsed as well by the Association for Gerontology in Higher Education, which is an American organisation attached to the Gerontological Society. And it was a great bonus for us to be endorsed by them, because sometimes when you think, you're doing the work, but you're not really sure if the work is really making the impact. And that was a huge bonus for us this last year. So, who are the AFU members? So there are currently 19 universities in the network at the moment. We have University of Strathclyde, Arizona State, National College of Ireland, Dublin City University, of course, LaSalle College, Athlone Institute of Technology, Leeds Beckett in the UK, and we were delighted that the University of Manitoba was an early adopter. They were the first in Canada to adopt, so we're really thrilled with that. And they've recently been joined by McMaster just last week. We have the University of Pai Che in South Korea, the University of Massachusetts Boston, Florida State University, Central Connecticut University, Trinity College Dublin, the University of Maine, Akron University, Ohio. Some of these have just joined in the last few days when I've been over here. We have the College of Physicians in Ireland, and I mentioned McMaster. We were delighted with McMaster joining, and we really want to continue to build our global empire in Canada. So, why would a university be interested in joining the network? So there are opportunities to learn from each other and explore potential exchanges between member universities, and that's very important at a university level. We want to work with stakeholders in the wider community to develop position and policy statements globally. We want to develop facilitative links between age-friendly universities and industry, non-profits, small to medium enterprises, and others working in the ageing sector. We want to attract funding for collaborative research between member universities. And that's very important for the universities, because we've had a number of links now with the American universities who are targeting European funds, and when they're coming as a partnership, we can access those funds to do certain projects. We want to provide opportunities for capacity building, including collaborative teaching initiatives among member universities. And we want to provide a forum for networking and sharing of ideas at an annual conference. And these are all the ideas that we would have around the Age-Friendly University Network. And then we want to encourage and enhance the understanding of issues on ageing across the world. So it's not just about Ireland, it's about Ireland as part of the global context. So next, we had an international age-friendly conference in March 2015, and we're hosting another conference now next March in 2018 in Croke Park. And we are really delighted that we have Professor Alexander Kalic, who's was head of the Director of Life Course in the WHO, and he's going to be our keynote. At the last conference, we attracted 23 higher education institutions, and 4 continents were represented. And we want the next conference to be bigger and better. We have a call out for submissions, so for those of you working within the university, you might look at it. It's very, very broad. The conference is New Frontiers of Ageing, Research, Policy and Practice, and the 6 parallel sessions at the conference for people to submit on. We have Professor Andrew Sixsmith from Simon Fraser on health and technology, and we have Professor Ruth Finkelstein from the University of Columbia, who was the former director of Age-Friendly Cities Program New York. So we're really delighted with the quality of the speakers we're getting for it. There's also a chance for people to network at it, and I would say it's very, very important for older people to be at that conference, as well as academia and the stakeholders in the sector. And because of that, we've reduced the rate for people to go to the conference. I think it's €50 for the 2 days, and there's a negotiated rate in the hotel right across the road from the conference venue. It's also St. Patrick's Festival Week in Ireland. I know you have a big festival here for the month of March, but there's no better place to be in St. Patrick's Day than in Dublin City, getting rained on, watching the parade. So. I've come to the end of my presentation. I'm really delighted to have been able to share this information with you. I hope you've had some useful links there. I've got to send this on. And come and join us. And come and join us as a participant. Come to the conference. Submit a paper if you're from the sector. And we'd love to see you. Thank you very much. Louise.
Program is
Yes. Yeah, all of our lecturers are paid staff, and they give a certain number of hours free under our CSR policy in the university. So it's about 40 hours per month.
Okay. And the second question is, if I don't know what it is on. If a senior were to take a program, does it displace a younger person's position?
No. Louise is down the back there, I think was the last question.
Yeah, could you tell us a little more about the courses that the seniors are taking? If they take courses that other students are taking for credit toward a degree, are they sitting in, or do they have to meet the same requirements and take the exams and get credit?
There's no requirement on anybody before they come into the university. They can come in and sit in on the classes and stay in that stream, once it's in the same stream, for that particular module. So people come in on two ways. They come in to do the credit-bearing module, which is 500 euros. So we do charge for 500 euros, and they get their 5 credits for doing the module. And each module they can take at their own pace. And then people come in and do it on an audit basis. But there's no requirement at all to do exams to come into the university.
So they can audit if they want.
Yeah, they can audit. And if they want to, when they come in, and actual fact, they can also take part, both students auditing the programme and students coming in for the academic credit, can also sit in on academic writing. They get all the supports from the university. They have access to the library, everything that a student would have, a full-time student would have in the university.
Thank you. Could you tell us a bit more about the second principle, helping the development in the second half of life and support those who wish to pursue second careers?
Yes, well, that's part of the, that retirement, the one I mentioned about the Advanced Transitions Programme. We were looking at, up until this year, people can retire in Ireland when they're 65 or 66. After 2020, if you're born after 1960, you can't retire until you're 68. So obviously, there's been a few factors that have influenced this particular principle, in that in 2011, there was a new policy by Irish government. If you had more than 30 years service in Ireland and working, you could leave then and draw down your pension once you were over 50. So what happened was we lost a massive number of people in our civil service, in our police, in our hospitals, and all of our services that all left because if they had stayed a bit longer, their pension would have been reduced under this new regime. So people said, hell, I'm not going to do that, and fair enough. And they had the 30-year service, so they went. And that was fantastic. However, what do you do when you're only 55 and you're now part of you need to have another opportunity to do that, to do new things. So that's what we informed that decision, was looking at how do we provide opportunity for people to come in and do those sort of activities, maybe to take on a degree programme, or else to develop their own enterprise. And that's a big push at the moment around older people developing their own enterprise, either a social enterprise or a commercial enterprise. And second careers, and that's what we talk about, second careers. And I suppose we'd be thinking about not only just supporting people to continue on in a new way, in a new type of career, that they have the expertise from the previous career, but they're going to try something else. I don't know if that answers your question. Yeah.
Just a brief question. How do you interface with the medical geriatric organizations that you would have in Ireland and around the world? What roles do they actually play, if any?
They don't really play. I mean, the AgeFriendly University Network is a loose federation of universities. So some of them have a very, very strong link with gerontology and medical gerontology. We have the University of Galway, which has got a strong link with social gerontology. So We do a lot of dementia research in DCU, but not as much as Trinity would do, and we don't claim to have that sort of input, and we learn from those. So we would have a lot of requests on biomedical requests. Professor Christine Loescher there, that was on the video, is doing a lot of work on polypharmacy and looking at areas like that. And MEDEX in particular looks at falls prevention of cognitive decline. So it sort of is all interlinked, but we wouldn't have a strong focus on that within DCU. But we use that expertise to come together where we do joint applications for funding, and we would do joint collaborative research projects in those areas.
Mrs. O'Kelly, you mentioned that one of the principles was to widen access to online educational opportunities. And I wondered if can you tell us at all about that experience at DCU or what's going on
online
worldwide, and any guidelines? We're at a pre-exploratory stage in this area and would be glad to learn from anybody else.
Well, we have a huge online connected, it's called DCU Connected program of opportunities for online learning. However, lots of older people don't have the skills to access the online learning program, so that's why we offer the free computer classes. So they come into the university, they brush up on the computer skills, get to a level where they're able to navigate, and that's where student mentoring comes in very strongly, because sometimes they're assigned a student mentor that will help them navigate what we call internally the loop system, for students to download to their assignments and the lectures, and they get that support, and then they can navigate the system much better. I'm not too sure whether there's that much of an interest from people to do the online learning, older people, because there's a small number of them, and they tend to be people who've just left the workforce who would have those skills anyway. But some of them did the DCU Online Connected program when it wasn't online, it was actually by post, so by distance learning, and they've come back now to do a master's program. One particular man that springs to mind was a bus driver, and he drove all around the country on these Irish tours, and he did all of his primary degree in the evenings when he would be in the hotel room waiting, and he's come back now to do a degree in law online.
So Christine is sitting right there. And at lunch, I can see that there are more questions. Right, Christine? So thank you very, very much.